The following video may contain spoilers for issues 1 through 5 of the IDW comic series Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Ah, who are we kidding? It gives away the entire f***ing plot. If you haven't read the series yet, please do so by picking it up either online or through your local comic book shop. Or just keep watching ahead. We can't tell you what to do.
Alright then, let's do this. Teenage Ninja Turtles. Fuck yes.
Alright. We're moving away from... No, that's fantastic.
Okay.
So yeah, we're moving away from Transformers this time around, but we're still staying with IDW.
Yeah, so we're talking about the best franchise, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This thing has been around for 30 goddamn years, and people still love Ninja Turtles because it's such a ludicrous premise.
Three generations now, technically.
That's true. So you had the original comic book, and then after the comic book you had the cartoon, and then you had another cartoon, and in the process you also had a couple movies, and then you had a brand new cartoon and comic book series. And there's a whole history to this whole thing. But if you go to Netflix, you can actually watch a movie called Turtle Power, which is the official history of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, talking about everything from the toy deal to the eventual cartoon, to the movie deal, to what happened to the Turtles, and then to their resurgence once in 2003, and again when the new cartoon came out after they were purchased by Nickelodeon.
That's right. Basically it started with the comics, became a toy line, then became a kids' cartoon.
And now most people I know who've been introduced to Ninja Turtles were introduced through the cartoon series. I found out through a book called Turtle Power, which was an unauthorized guide to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that there was a comic book series that came beforehand, which was a much different kind of take on the characters, but was the original, was the origin of everything. So the original comics are a little bit more gritty. They're based kind of off Frank Miller's Daredevil, because that's what the original creator said. It was actually based off a parody of Frank Miller's Daredevil.
That's right, they tied in the origins of Daredevil with the origins of Ninja Turtles by having the same ooze that blinded Matt Murdock be also the same ooze that turned them into little giant mutants.
And then they got taught ninjutsu by their rat leader Splinter, who is a take on Stick from Daredevil. And as well, and he learned those movements by watching his master from his cage. You know the story of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or one of the origin stories of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You might know the Michael Bay version of the story, which makes absolutely no sense. But you know what? None of the origin stories make any fucking goddamn sense. And we'll be talking about those periodically, simply because a lot of people gave the Michael Bay film crap for that, when in reality, the original comics was just, it was a rat mimicking movements from his cage, and this is before he became a mutant.
It's not any more or any less ridiculous when you think about it.
4 walking, talking turtles. Yeah, the guy's PhD material, all right.
In the movie, he learns it by finding an ancient book of ninjutsu, and then they just learn it really quickly over the span of a few years.
Yeah.
Whereas IDW's take is a little bit different. So I'm not going to get too much into the original comics because you can actually still buy them right now through IDW on comicology.com, which is really good if you get digital comics. It's kind of how we get a lot of our digital comics sometimes as well, is through that or through, actually mostly through that. I don't have a scanner that's good enough to scan comics, and I definitely don't have a lot of these comics physically, unfortunately. So let's talk about the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So the first issue opens up with a really cool fight scene right in the middle of the mean streets of New York City. We have Master Splinter and his Ninja Turtles fighting against Old Hob and his assorted goons. Not a great name for a team. So we're introduced to, obviously, Master Splinter and 3 of the Ninja Turtles, Donatello, Leonardo, and Michelangelo. And of course, we kind of see their own little fighting styles. Leonardo's trying not to kill anybody, Michelangelo doesn't give a fuck, and Donatello he's Donatello. He doesn't really like fighting too much. So anyways, Splinter and his boys, well, they get business done. Old Hob and his goons run away, and then they all reminisce about the fact that they don't have Raphael, and then we see sad Raphael. all alone on the streets. What a sad face he has. Oh my god. He needs to be hugged. He needs to be hugged often. So then we get our first flashback. We're introduced to a young red-haired lady and her friend, Chet. Chet is introducing this new intern to Stockman Labs, where we're introduced to a little tray with 4 turtles and a rat. The rat, however, is named Splinter. He's essentially there because he's part of a lab experiment. They're testing some sort of neural compound, but Chet obviously is not going to talk too much because it's a secret. And then we find out her name is April O'Neil. What? It's April!
So the first book simply just establishes the Turtles, establishes Old Hob. It also establishes April O'Neil as well, and everything takes place originally at a place called Stockman Labs, where we're introduced to Baxter Stockman, who is essentially he's a businessman, but he's also a little bit of a terrible criminal for the most part. He's developing mutagen as well as other things to be used for military purposes by a man who runs out of a place called Burnlow Island.
Now we're introduced to another flashback where April is an established member of the team, finds out she's really liking the Turtles, and she also asks why they keep calling the rat Splinter, which is based on a psychotropic drug test where they're running to see how it's splinters, animal nature in 2, making them super smash. And then April doesn't have no idea, and it's all secret hush-hush. And then they find out that April gave the Turtles names. Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael. And she points them all out in the different cage and why they gave them different names. Like Leonardo's all quiet and poignant, Donatello's studying a bug, Michelangelo's just eating the shit out of fucking stuff, and Raphael just wants to get the hell out of there. Look at him. Another sad Raphael. So sad.
So after the fight with Old Hob and his team, the Turtles kind of are really sad because they're missing Raphael, and we mind that Raphael is living on the street as kind of a dirty drifter, you know, stealing food from dumpsters and looking for clothing, and we get kind of a cowabunga joke, which is pretty funny. And then he eventually runs into a house where he finds that there's a guy just beating on his kid. Raph goes in and just fucks the guy up. The guy kind of runs away after realizing he's a giant turtle, and the kid realizes that the guy's just there to save him, he means well, and we meet Casey Jones.
Well, it looks like you're the one who needs to be taught a lesson, pal. Class is Pain 101. Your instructor's Casey Jones.
So now we have issue 2, where Raphael's threatened to beat the crap out of this old man, and the kid doesn't want his old man to get hurt, and tries to tell him to, get out of my house, I can deal with this. Then he slaps him, and then Raph goes crazy. And, they fight. They fight pretty hard. Like, somebody's gonna die. And then the old man hits Raph in the back and realizes, holy shit, this guy is a giant, weird mutant freak. And then Raph he beats him. It's Raphael. So, Raphael scares him off. And now we meet the young kid. And guess what his name is, guys? We're not gonna find out yet. Yeah, it's Casey Jones. The kid's Casey Jones. Meanwhile, we were featured to another flashback where Splinter is trying to show something to April, and April's just trying to figure out what it is. So, April's looking at the information and finds out bad shit's going down, but we can already figure that out as 2 ninjas descend upon the small laboratory. So, while April's looking at the information, she gets attacked by ninjas. And Splinter's there, and they're stealing all the stuff, like the mutagen and the turtles, and Splinter just runs into action and pulls a fire alarm somehow, while April, defends herself with a lab equipment. Splinter goes after the ninjas because, well, he loves those turtles a lot, and he doesn't like people hurting his friends. So he bites one in the eye, guy drops the bag, they throw Splinter into the alleyway, and the magic goo starts touching everybody. And then we meet an alley cat, who tries to eat one of the turtles. And then we go back to the Turtles with Splinter. Training and kind of trying to figure out what's going on. Splinter wants to deal with Old Hob, but he wants to find Raphael. And finding Raphael is their key purpose, is what he believes in. Whereas the other Turtles, outside of Leonardo, want to find their brother, but they also want to fight Old Hob because he's causing a lot of problems, and Michelangelo feels that these guys can do a lot of good for the city. And then back, we talk to Casey and Raph again, becoming super buds. And then Casey shows him a way to kind of let off some steam, puts on a hockey mask, grabs a cricket bat and another cricket bat, and now they're going on an adventure in beating people.
So Raphael finds out that Casey Jones has always been kind of a, he's always been kind of a fighter because his dad lives in the streets, but he promised that he would never actually fight his dad because of something that his mom never wanted him to do. So anyways, they introduce each other, they become pretty good friends, and then Raphael is like, well, what do we do now? Casey Jones grabs his hockey mask and a hockey stick and a couple of clubs and says, hey, let's go beat the shit out of people, and so they do. So they become vigilantes.
At the beginning of issue 3, we have our dynamic duo of Casey and Raph beating the shit out of a guy that just stole a purse. So they try to get the purse back to the old lady. She runs away thinking they're going to hurt them, and they decide to just drop it off at the police station and get some food instead. Meanwhile, the other turtles are practicing and fighting with Splinter, talking about what they're going to do, what they should do. Raphael, it kind of repeats itself. But it also leads us into our next flashback where we find out why old Hob hates them so much. We find that the alley cat with the turtle inside of his mouth now fighting against the still rat Splinter, who tries to save the small turtle. Again, we're whoa. Look at that turtle's face. Wow. That is some fear. Or he has no idea what's going on. But there's some turtle crap inside that cat's mouth, I gotta tell you. Anyway, Splinter bites him in the face. Yeah, takes his eye clean out. And then the 3 turtles are dropped into a sewer drain. Splinter narrowly misses being killed by ninjas, saves 3 turtles, but 1 gets thrown away into the trash. And then he turns into a rat man and has no idea what's going on. Finds that the turtles are in the same way, and they decide to learn ninjutsu.
Oh.
So, you have Turtles, you have Splinter, you have April, you have Casey, you have all the characters in their various spots. How do they all meet up together? So, while Casey and Raph are kind of around doing their vigilante thing, a couple of guys who are part of Hobbs' crew notice there's a giant turtle running around with a guy in a hockey mask, just basically messing with all their street level crime.
So the 3 turtles are on patrol. Everybody's arguing. Donatello's arguing with Leo, which is a really interesting dynamic where Leo is saying they have to follow Master Splinter. Donatello is like, I don't want to look for Raphael because I don't care anymore. He's probably dead, or worse, or both. And Michelangelo is trying to be the peacemaker of the group. And they bicker and fight until they realize they can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. They can look for Hob while looking for Raphael, and they can, be superheroes pretty much. Meanwhile, Raphael and Casey Jones are getting a hot dog. What? Crazy. However, they get pushed by 2 guys who lead them into what will obviously become a trap. Which it is. Old Ab really doesn't like Raphael. Or he really wanted to eat Raphael. Really don't understand that part.
Oh, meanwhile, Splinter and the Turtles are still training. Leonardo and them decide to go out and look for Rat. In the meantime, Donatello and Michelangelo are constantly arguing with Leonardo, saying, hey, Rat's probably dead, we should probably do more things in regards to old Hob. Leonardo gets it on with Donatello, which creates a new kind of dynamic, because normally it's a Leonardo versus Raphael.
It's always been a Leonardo versus Raphael thing.
This way would have worked if you hadn't wasted time second-guessing my orders.
Well, don't give bad orders, and I won't second-guess them.
What?
You are so smug. You know that?
Yeah? Well, maybe I'll just take my attitude and
Why
leave.
don't you?
I will.
Good.
Great.
Go ahead. We don't need you.
Park rind?
And now it's Leonardo versus Donatello, whereas Donatello showing that he actually does have the brains of the group. He also shows he has a bit of a cocky streak in him as well, and feels that maybe he should be kind of in charge of what's going on. Leonardo sees the advantage of doing 2 things at once, looking for Raphael while trying to stop old Hob from trying to find out where they live, and so they agree to do both at the same time.
Now at the beginning of issue 4, we're introduced to old Hob again, Raphael and Casey, and all of Hob's guys are surrounding him. Raphael doesn't realize who that guy is until he remembers what happened to him as a baby turtle. All he remembers Hob grabbing him, he remembers waking up alone in an alleyway, and he remembers being really pissed off about it, and then just He just says no. Literally, he's saying no right there. No! But yeah, he doesn't want to die, and they decide just to fight their way out, which they do, running through the alleyways. Meanwhile, we get back to another flashback, where Chet is talking with Baxter Stockman, who's extremely pissed off that all of his stuff is being stolen. However, in the process of trying to get all the mutagen off, everything's contaminated, they need to make sure that they get the specimen direct from the source. And that's when a naked Catman, with one eye, stumbles out of the alleyway. And they decide to make him part of the group. Meanwhile, April goes to the police to try and tell them what happened, and they pretty much laugh at her.
So we also find out why Old Hob is after the turtles as well. So after he becomes a mutated alley cat, they take samples of his blood at Stock Gem to see if they can replicate the Splinter mind thing, which they can't. So they need to find Splinter. Old Hob volunteers himself for the process and says he'll go find and hunt down Splinter, get some money from Stockman, and then starts hiring goons to find the turtles and beat the shit out of them. Which is, it's a good plan. Except, the turtles are ninjas. How they know ninjutsu and all that, we'll cover that very shortly, because there's a physical origin to the turtles, and there's now also a metaphysical origin to the turtles. Trust me, it's going to make sense very soon.
It threw me off initially, but when I looked at it, it really made no more or no less sense than anything else Ninja Turtles has done to this point.
Very true.
And then we go back to Splinter and the turtles in the sewer, where Splinter explains to them what their name is, who they are, why they remember so many things, but they're not going to remember some other things, and it's very weird. But he introduced himself as his mentor, introduced the turtles as his sons, and they decide to go out and find Raphael. And then we're back in the present where Raphael is beating the shit out of everyone, while Casey Jones is doing the same, and they're doing pretty good. That is until Graf gets hit in the back with a crowbar. Turns around, he gets really angry, gets lost, Casey gets knocked out, Raphael goes to get knocked out, and before everything bad can happen, he gets hit in the arm with Ninja Stars by Leonardo. Which, by the way, is a recurring thing. Leonardo really likes throwing stars. Like a lot. You'll see. He gets really good at it. I'm pretty sure he's fucking crazy. So, we're introduced to the rest of the turtles who come in. Everybody saves the day. Raphael flips out, though, at the end because he just wants to kill Old Hob and get rid of all these guys. However, they pretty much just... Oh, wow, Raphael, calm down, buddy. Holy shit. He's just beating the shit out of him. He's like... biting him, and wow, he hates Old Hob. He's crazy. Holy shit, Raphael. Okay, alright. So he realizes that these three guys are actually his brothers, and he finally gets the family he was looking for. He's brought home to Master Splinter, and they have a tearful reunion. Oh, Raphael is no longer sad, but he's crazy.
Ooh, where? Huh? Well, that leaves why and when, doesn't it?
So, the turtles' origin is as follows. So, in issue number 5, the same issue where Casey and April officially meet, we are introduced to this actual origin of the Ninja Turtles, as well as the Foot Clan and other variants from the Ninja Turtle series.
So Splinter is trying to get around Old Hob's men while taking something back to the lair. And in the process is also remembering a story from a different age, feudal Japan. And he's remembered the story of a man by the name of Hamato Yoshi. So while the turtles are training and kind of talking to Raphael while he's trying to understand why he knows all of these techniques and the moves, and the rest of the turtles also explain that it's just something they just seem to know. Meanwhile, Master Splinter is still doing the ninja thing, making his way back, and we get back to the cool story, which is the story of Hamato Yoshi, a cool ninja warrior who is going through a little mission of assassination, and we're introduced to the Foot Clan. The Foot Clan?
So we find out that Master Splinter starts telling the story about a man by the name of Hamato Yoshi who lived in feudal Japan and was part of a clan of ninja thieves known as the Foot. Not so much ninja thieves, but they were kind of a weird... there was ninjas, yeah. Essentially their whole goal was the protection and safety of the... protection and safety for the most part. And of course assassinations as well.
Because ninjas.
There's an actual story on how the hierarchy worked in a special issue called The Secret History of the Foot Clan, which gives a little bit more backstory to the actual Foot Clan itself, but this is more talking about Hamato Yoshi.
We're also introduced to the leader of the Foot Clan, Orokusaki. So, Orokusaki is essentially a guy who is, he's hellbent, power-driven. He swears loyalty to his clan and hates anyone that doesn't follow his will. Hamato Yoshi is not a big fan of his particular way of doing things, you know, murdering everybody. Because, as effective as it is, normally innocent people get murdered. He doesn't like that. So he decides to leave, calling the Foot Clan a disgrace, which, holy shit, pisses off Orokusaki. Like, the image on this page, this is a man full of a hell of a lot of anger. Like, holy shit, this guy's gonna do things. So, ninjas arrive at his home, and they murder his wife. Yep. His wife is so dead. However, they don't realize that Hamato Yoshi is also crazy. Everybody in this show this comic is crazy. Like, look at their angry faces. So crazy. So he murders the shit out of those two ninjas. Like, I'm talking, wow. Ten-Shen tells him to, you know, live with his sons, not worry about revenge, and, you know, just protect his family. Which he honors in the sense that he's going to take his kids and train them to be ninjas, just like him. Also notice all the kids are wearing different colors. You know, blue, red, orange, purple. Almost like you're trying to tell me something, comic. So they flee into the mountains, and then we're brought back to Casey Jones in present day, who really wants to play hockey but can't because he's an idiot. But he needs help. They recommend going to a tutor, but he has no money, and his folks are, well, one's dead and one's an asshole. We're also introduced to April, who needs to make some extra money and decides to become a tutor, setting up posters everywhere. And they briefly pass by the doorway. And then we're back to Splinter, doing his thing. Ah, Splinter. He's so cool in this series. And as he's trying to get home, we remember again his 4 sons, a little bit older now, training to be amazing ninja warriors. All of them are very excited by all the gifts that he has brought them. However, in the process of bringing gifts, he also brought the Foot Clan and Orokusaki, looking very... he's the Shredder. So the Shredder has... holy shit. So the Shredder has captured his whole family and decides to, well, kill his sins, his sons for his... I'm sorry, I'm a little broken up here. It's a Ninja Turtles comic. Shit. We're not fucking around. So Hamato Yoshi asks his sons to forgive them, and then they're... holy shit! They're killed. They're dead. Wow. Okay, they're dead. Wow. And then Hamato Yoshi swears vengeance, and then dies. Interesting. And then he comes home to see his sons, and he gives them all cool gifts. Gives Michelangelo an orange headband, Donatello a purple, Leonardo a blue one. I get it. Oh, and there's a size. There we go. Awesome. That's awesome. So, Master Splinter decides to sit down with his sons and share with them the story of his past life, where we realize that Splinter and the Turtles are actually the reincarnated spirits of Hamato Yoshi and his 4 sons. Shit's crazy.
That's right. The Turtles and Splinter are the reincarnated Yoshi family. Yep.
A little bit different from just Turtles in the sewer.
Honestly, I think it's a little bit of a better kind of backstory because they don't want to have the whole he learned ninjutsu from his cage. The reason the Turtles know so much about ninjutsu is because it's inside their... they just know it. It's part of their who they are because they trained with it so much with their father.
In a lot of ways, it's actually a much better explanation.
And also establishes that the Turtles are different ages. They're not from like the same litter. So Leonardo is the oldest. I believe Raphael is the second oldest. Donatello is the middle child. And Michelangelo being the youngest. And even later on in the series, we find many respect Leonardo because of his much better ninjutsu skills than the rest, even though Michelangelo's pretty good. Donatello thinks too much of his feet, and all this we see in various fights that they have. That establishes the Ninja Turtles themselves. So, but you're probably wondering where do they get their delicious colors? So, as I mentioned, the 4 kids have 4 different color kimonos when they're sleeping in their little beds. That represents their different colors. So the reason that they all were wearing red bandanas was to symbolize that they missed their brother Raphael, and that's who they were looking for. So everybody got their own color, which is pretty cool. Raphael got his size, and then we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all together, forever, yay! And that's kind of the end of the first little story. That's it. That's Turtles. Boom. IDW. Obviously, there's more Turtle stories than that. In fact, the IDW Ninja Turtles are incredibly fascinating.
It gets a lot more violent down the road too, from what I understand.
Yes, it is. We're introduced to new other characters as well. They introduce a snapping turtle that's bred specifically to hunt them. Yeah, that's right. Slash. We're also introduced to more characters that join Old Hob. They even bring back the Mutanimals from the Archie comics, which is fucking fantastic. That's, Mondo Gecko and all those guys. So many cool things are done with the IDW Ninja Turtles. And, of course, they eventually bring in big guns. Bebop, Rocksteady, they set up Krang. It's fantastic. It's really well done. Like, everything is there, from the original series to the original comics to the original cartoon. It is an amazing little love letter to the Ninja Turtles. And we even get all kinds of new characters that come in there, like Old Hob, other characters from other variations of the series as well, like Hun, who gets introduced, who has a really cool backstory. Honestly, the whole series is fantastic. And obviously, this is probably not going to be the first issue we're going to cover, or the first Turtle story.
First series of issues.
But honestly, I fucking love Ninja Turtles. How could you not love Ninja Turtles? They've been around for 30 years. The Turtles are as old as we are, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like.
Kind of scary to think about.
Yeah, as is our own inevitable death.
On the half shell, they're the heroes for. In this day and age, who could ask for more? The crime wave is high with